Hello everyone, welcome to our third lecture, which is on the feeble markets perspective. So far, we've covered two theoretical traditions and how they account for the relationship between markets and morals, and we will quickly review those. So the first one, as we know, is the Civilizing Markets liberal dream perspective. This theory argues that markets are good, then they make us behave well. So capitalism on the market is leading to positive moral outcomes. The destructive markets commodified nightmare perspective argues the opposite. The market is bad and it makes us behave badly. So capitalism on the market is leading to negative moral outcomes. And just to emphasize again, for these two perspectives, it's the market or capitalism as an economic system that's leading to these either positive or negative moral outcomes. So capitalism, the economic system, is what determines the moral outcomes that we see in a particular society. The third tradition that we'll talk about today is the feeble markets tradition. And as we've talked about generally before, this perspective argues that markets are weak and therefore they're greatly influenced by their social context, by the particular moral order of a society. And so instead of the market leading to morals, all right, we have morals or culture leading to the economic system. Here it's society, culture, it's moral values and beliefs that are influencing the shape, form, and operation of a society's economic system. And then the last perspective, which we'll cover in class this week, is the moralizing markets tradition. And you know, for this tradition, we use Facebook language. So we say markets and market components are morally complicated. It's not a simple story. It's not markets lead to universal good things or markets lead to universally bad things. It's a mixture of the two. And it's also a mixture of how markets can influence culture. And at the same time, culture or social forces can influence the market. So in some cases, markets are influencing society. In some cases, society is influencing markets. And sometimes good things are flowing from here. And sometimes bad things are flowing from there. It's complicated. It just depends on the particular situation. And then for moralizing markets, again, it's not an all or nothing or unidirectional story. Different things can have different outcomes in different situations under different times in different conditions. So it just all depends. It's complicated. So that's a quick overview of the various traditions that we're going to be covering in this class. And now let's jump into the feeble perspective, feeble markets perspective in some more detail. So as we just mentioned, the feeble markets perspective argues that markets are weak and are therefore influenced by their social, cultural, or moral context. And so the central claim that the feeble markets perspective makes is that market and market things are always, and this is a quote from Foucault and Healy, embedded in, entangled with, or otherwise dependent on other parts of society. And we'll see the word embedded here, at least for me, is the key term and the key way to understand what the feeble markets perspective is arguing. We'll see that this term comes from Polanyi. And in my area of sociology, which is economic sociology, the idea of embeddedness has become the central concept. And it's the starting point for all sociological inquiries that people make into economic or market-related situations. So embeddedness is the key concept here. And again, if you're trying to think of just like easy phrases to associate with each perspective, liberal dream, good, commodified nightmare, bad, feeble markets, weak and embedded, or maybe better to say weak, therefore embedded, and in moralizing markets, complicated. So if we assume that markets are embedded in, or entangled with, or dependent upon other parts of society, the implication of this is that the moral order of a society shapes its economic practice and not the other way around. So the direction of causality isn't from the economy to society or the market to morals. Instead, it's from morals to market or society to the economy. So this is feeble markets, just in its most general terms. We'll now compare it against to some other claims and ways of understanding the relationship between markets and morals. And we'll do that by looking at what I call, so this is my phrasing, these strong market theses, and we'll see there's two versions of them. So the term strong market, you're not going to find that in Foucault and Healy. Just keep in mind, this is my way of understanding the feeble markets tradition from this contrasting point. So you can think of the liberal dream perspective and the commodified nightmare perspective as both offering a strong market perspective. So not a feeble market perspective, but the opposite, a strong market perspective. And what this strong market perspective implies is that markets and market things, market-related things, are either one, historically universal and uniform, so they've always and everywhere existed in pretty much the same form as they do today, or have come to be socially universal once they have been discovered. So throughout the history of humanity, there was a time period in which people did not or had not discovered, say, thinking in terms of supply and demand and other market-related concerns. But once they started doing this, it spread throughout the entire social universe. And so now we are living in a world that's completely governed by the economic system. So these strong market perspectives both imply, right, that the economy is determining everything else in society. It's just a question of whether that's always been the case or whether that's something of a more recent origin, say within the past 3 to 5, potentially maybe 600 years. And we'll see examples of these types of claims here in a little bit. But well, at least versions of these claims have been quite popular over time, and you can even find examples today. They share a problem, and the problem is that markets and market thinking are neither historically or socially universal. So the strong market thesis has a hard time accounting for reality, either because you can look back in the past and say, hey, not everyone was always doing this capitalist thing. Or you can look at different parts of the world and you can see that there are groups that are not engaged in market-related thinking. So even though these can be quite popular claims, empirically, they are not correct. Empirically, they don't stand up to the test of evidence